Interstate 635 is one of the most important highways in the city of Dallas. Sitting in the outer edges of Dallas, it is one of 3 loops that go around Dallas, with the other 2 being Loop 12 and Beltline Road. Because this is the only official highway that serves the city of Dallas, unlike Loop 12 that has too much development to really become a highway, and Beltline Road is not even a highway at all. It's also one of the busiest for residents in the DFW area. What's going on, everyone? My name's Cool Titanium 68, and in our 10th, well, sorry, not our 10th, in our 5th episode of our road construction series, we're going to be going over Interstate 635, the loop that does not connect back to 35. Interstate 635 in general is one of the most important highways in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It is one of the busiest corridors in DFW. Is from Interstate 35 east to the west and 75 to the east. That whole stretch of corridor between Interstate 35 east, Dallas North Tollway, and US Highway 70 is always congested. It is one of the most, I don't want to say this, it is one of the most congested highways, even though it is part of the LBJ TexPress lanes and it is still like a 10-lane highway with 6 frontage roads, still very congested. On top of this also does extend down to I-30, which also is a very busy section. Not as busy as 75 to 635, but it is a direct connection to I-30 without having to go to downtown Dallas. But you might also think, why does 635 not start and end on 35 East? Let's take a look at that. So in 1959, original plans for 635 envisioned the highway as an eastern bypass loop of 35 east of Interstate 35. Now, 635 connection points to Interstate 35 east would be located on the northwest and southwest sides of Dallas. The first section of 635 to open was a 10-mile stretch between present-day State Highway 310, which now is known as South Central Expressway, which again was formerly US Highway 75, already talked about this, to Barnes Bridge Road in Mesquite. So this is just before Interstate 30. Now, about 2 years later, a 13-mile portion of Interstate 635 was truncated and used as the new southern bypass route for Interstate 20. For those of y'all that don't know, in 1971, Interstate 20 was still being used on the same alignment as what Interstate 30 is, leading up to the I-30 US 80 interchange, because Interstate 20 followed US 80 all the way up to Terrell. So that section between, well, then Interstate 20 and Interstate 35 East became a part of, well, actually it's a 71, so that portion wasn't even built. So basically from Central Expressway up to I-20 was a part of the, well, it was actually part of I-20 as a bypass. So at this point in the truncation, 635 ended at present-day State Highway 310 to the south and Interstate 35 east on the northwest side of Dallas at the current 635-35 interchange. Now, the actual western connection from State Highway 310 wasn't completed until 1978. So what I mean by that is this is the section between Central Expressway and 35. That wasn't completed until 1978. But it wasn't until 1987 when Interstate 20's current alignment opened up and took the entire southern swath of 635. Now, why did it take so long? As I said before, well, at that time it was Beltway Loop A20. Basically the southeastern corner, right where 287 starts. So let me actually open up a map for that to show y'all. So as I had explained in the previous video over Interstate 20, this was all a part of A20. Now, I think this half here was not built yet. And I think it kind of went up to about, I think this was, yeah. So this part of A20 West was still being built. And Interstate A20 loop kind of went around like this. It kind of acted more or less like, well, A20 kind of acted more or less like a bypass of 35 West than it was a bypass of I-20. I digress. So on the southeast corner here, so this is right where 287 meets up with A20. And this is now part of the Southeast Connector project, which we'll talk about in a few weeks once we finish A20 next week. From here up to 35 East, this was all a brand new alignment that was being built. And I had shown you guys in that 1974 picture that they had planned it, we're still building it. Yeah, it took them that long to officially build that. The fact that it took them, it wasn't until 1987 when Interstate 20 was actually designated, because I would bet that the other reason why, and I can also show you, is the route between 635 and then spur 557 had to be rebuilt as well. Because if you guys don't know, as I've probably explained multiple times, this portion of US 80 between the 35 and US 80 interchange all the way down to spur 507, all the way to here, this portion of US 80 was a part of I-20, and then spur 557 was a part of I-20 as well. When they built this, this became spur 557, and US 80 was then extended to here, heading, I don't know, maybe like 20-30 miles back on US 80. I mean, pretty much all of US 80 has been replaced by I-30, I-20, and I-10 at this point, so it's not a terribly big deal. Now, when it comes to 635 west of 35 on its northwest terminus, that was actually designated as Loop 635 in April of 1968. When you guys are talking about Loop 635, this starts right here and pretty much connects all the way back up to State Highway 121. All of this was known as Loop 635. Loop 635 started at Interstate 35 East and went westward to spur 459. Now, this was actually a connecting highway that connected State Highway 121 and a future reroute of State Highway 114 east of Grapevine. Ultimately, the 114 reroute was canceled, and spur 459 became a part of State Highway 121. However, in 1974, Loop 635 itself was transferred over to Interstate 635 and reopened in the 1980s. Now, over the years, Interstate 635 has become one of the most important highways, especially for North and Northeast Dallas and its surrounding suburbs. With 635 being a direct, free connection to the north side of DFW Airport from the city of Dallas, again, without taking State Highway 114, it is also one of the busiest highways in the city of Dallas. Why is this? As I've said before, if you're coming from the north and you're trying to get on I-30, the easiest thing to do is to just take 635 all the way over, instead of having to go all the way down to downtown Dallas and have to take the canyon around. That portion is always packed, even at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's like, why do that when you can just take 635 down? And I mean, you can technically take George Bush all the way around, but most trucking companies do not pay for tolls, so it's kind of like, it's coming out of your pocket if you do that. I digress. Now, because 635 offers a direct connection to both the Dallas North Tollway, US 75, and Interstate 30 without having to go through downtown Dallas, there's also been a lot of construction going on around this area too. Whether it's High 5 interchange, which is interchange of 75 and 635, which, by the way, is the tallest interchange in the state of Texas, the LBJ TexPress project, which completed about 10 years ago, or the ongoing 635 TexPress project. Now, starting off with the High 5 interchange. So this interchange was built in 2005. Now, for those of y'all that are probably like, what do you mean by the High 5 interchange? Let me zoom in here. So this is the High 5 interchange. This is one of the first ever 5-level interchanges. Now, you might be wondering, how is there 5? So the bottom level is the lanes for US Highway 75. Then the second level on top of that is going to be all the frontage roads for LBJ. It's going to be LBJ Freeway and Central Expressway, which are both the frontage roads for 635 and 75 respectively. Then the third level is Interstate 635 and the TexPress lanes there as well. Then the fourth are going to be, at least going over those portions, are going to be from southbound 75 onto eastbound 635 and northbound 75 onto westbound 635. And again, technically, I believe some of the other like outer connectors, like from northbound 75 to eastbound 635, westbound 635 to northbound 75, southbound 75 to eastbound 635, and then eastbound 635 onto southbound 75. I believe those are technically still considered the fourth level. Now, the fifth level contains 3 separate bridges. That is going to be westbound 635 onto southbound 75. This is, well, wait, hold on. So next up is eastbound 635 onto northbound 75. And then the bridge actually connecting the, well, former HOV lanes onto the express lanes, and that is a flipped bridge. So one day it could be from southbound 75 express lanes onto westbound 635 TexPress lanes, or it could be flipped where it is from eastbound TexPress lanes onto the northbound HOV lanes. It's all dependent on what traffic is going to be like there. Now, back in 2011, a new project was devised to rebuild and widen 635 as well as add managed toll lanes. Now, costing a staggering $2.7 billion, this project was known as the LBJ TexPress project. It aimed to rebuild Interstate 635 from US 75 to Interstate 35 east, while also adding 6 managed toll lanes trenched a few hundred feet underground. These managed toll lanes would eventually extend southward onto I-35 east, and would eventually connect up to the 35 express lanes that would extend northward from the 635 and 35 east interchange, as well as the Loop 12 TexPress lanes that would connect down to 183. Now, construction started in 2011, was set to take 5 years, but opened up 9 months early in September 2015. This explains why, and I'll show you guys also on Google Maps. So, as you can see, that is a pretty wide right-of-way for Interstate 635. And the reason for this is because, well, it was wide enough that they could have a total of, I believe this is 4 lanes. I believe this is 8 lanes through most of this corridor. And then as you see here, once you pass, I believe this is Hillcrest. Yep, this is Hillcrest. It is now trenched underground. LBJ comes up, and now this is underground, and now this is not yet underground, but it's still trenched. And then right around Preston is when it kind of goes over, like where the lanes start to merge over, just because of the limited right of way that they had to work with. And again, this is mainly an 8-lane toll. There's mainly 8 lanes. I'm gonna shut this off so I can actually see it better. I believe this is 8 lanes. Yeah, so it's mainly an 8-lane highway leading up to the tollway. And then as you get up to the tollway, it shifts over. And the reason why they're able to do that on the tollway is because the tollway uses a cloverleaf interchange with bridges going over for not the express lanes. This is the frontage roads for at least Inwood Road and Dallas Parkway to go over. And then it goes back over parts of the TexPress lanes. And again, you've got 8 lanes leading all the way up to 35 East, which is right over here. And you guys could probably guess here, they had to reconfigure the heck out of this interchange. Like, this is how wide the right-of-way is for this interchange. Honestly, that is pretty unnecessary for how wide this is, but my word. And the thing is even from west of 630, even from west of 35, 635 has a very, very wide right-of-way over here, too, once you get past George Bush. I mean, by the way, this is still a 6-lane highway, and you still have probably about 100 feet or so in between the eastbound and westbound main lanes. Like, that's crazy. Now, when you're coming in from the TexPress lanes, you have one of either 2 things you can do. You can either, well, actually, it's technically one of 3. You can either go straight through and connect back onto 635, or you can take the bridges over here, and you can either go south onto LBJ TexPress lanes, and they will connect back up to the Loop 12 TexPress lanes, or you can just get back on a 35 from there. Or you can go eastward onto the 35 Express, which leads all the way up to Corinth. And I think eventually they'll extend that, but more on that later. Now, the most current project under construction is what's known as the Interstate 635 East project. So this project starts off where the LBJ TexPress project ended at US 75 and heads south and east towards Interstate 30, encompassing a total of 11 miles. Now, like the LBJ TexPress project, the 635 East project will widen 635 to actually 10 lanes this time, just because from 75 to I-30, that is still probably a much more well-traveled corridor, because if you're coming in from like East Oklahoma, you're going to have to take that to go get that back on the I-30. But again, it's going to add 10 lanes, 5 in each direction. But unlike the LBJ TexPress project, they're going to only build 4 managed toll lanes. So this is going to be 2 in each direction. Now, even though 635 between Highway 75 and Interstate 30 is a very busy stretch of highway that does frequently get congested, in my opinion, I don't think it gets as busy as 635 between 35 East and 75. And my guess is because most people tend to move farther and farther north, and the only freeways connecting 75 to 35 is 635 and, well, 380, the latter of which is consistently struggling with traffic. And the downside is that both George Bush Turnpike and Sam Rayburn Tollway are toll roads. Now, I'm going to flip this back over here. What they're working on here is they'll pretty much start, I believe it's after TI Boulevard here. And they're just, and as you can see, they're pretty much just rebuilding 635. They've rebuilt this bridge. I don't believe this is the most accurate image here, but they're rebuilding, but I believe they've pretty much rebuilt this bridge already. And as you can see, there's a pretty wide right of way here. And you can kind of guess as to why they would do something like this. What they're probably doing is the same thing what they're doing with 35 going up to Gainesville. Is they will rebuild one half of the road. So this side of the LBJ freeway is being rebuilt to 10 lanes, and then they'll probably rebuild parts of the TexPress lanes in between, and then they'll rebuild 635 right here, and then they'll rebuild this portion of 635, make it a lot nicer and all that stuff, because I mean that is a really, really wide amount of stuff that they're working on. Holy cow. But one of the other things they're really having to work on is the rebuild of the I-30 interchange. Now, I believe they've already rebuilt some of this stuff. Like, I believe they've already rebuilt some of the bridges, and I think they're going to tear down, I think they're already working to tear down some of the older ones, I think. I don't remember which ones are new, which ones are old, but this is a big thing that they're reworking right now as well, and eventually I-30 will be reconfigured and expanded as well. But this is where 635 East stops, because they're not going to work on 635 south of I-30. And the main reason for that is because, well, it's not much of a really big need to expand 635, I would say, down to I-20. I mean, it's usually not that busy. It's honestly not that busy of a highway, especially here. I-20 is normally not that busy. It's already an 8-lane highway. I believe 635 here is already 6, but still, doesn't seem to be that much of demand for there to be a need to expand. And I'm probably gonna bite my tongue on that, because I will probably guess in the next like 20 years they're gonna expand that. So I'll probably be in my 40s by the time they announce that they're gonna widen 635 again. Because I believe, and I actually have this pulled up, and oh, wait, that's an 8-lane highway already? Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, I was completely wrong on that. All right, well, let me show y'all this. So this portion here, mind you, this is the 2022 update, so this is not the most accurate. So again, this is an 8-lane highway with 2 managed toll lane, with roughly 2 managed toll lanes, and then 4 to 8 continuous frontage roads. Actually, no, this is more discontinuous on parts of these. And I think from here in Garland, these did not have managed toll lanes, because managed toll lanes actually end just east of TI Boulevard. So like right here, this is the last exit to get off, and then once you get to here, you're back on the main lanes. So, as I've said, this is going to widen it to 10 lanes and then 4 managed toll lanes. I believe 635 here, yes, it's still. So this portion here is still a very busy corridor, and they're going to widen it to 10 lanes because, again, 75 is a freeway, and pretty much, if you're coming from 35, you have to cross here, which, isn't really like that big of a deal. But then once you have 75 come on here to try and bypass downtown Dallas to get onto I-20. I mean, look, this is already a 10-lane highway from I-30 to US 80, and then from US 80 down to all the way, I think, is this down to I-20 or 175? Okay, it's down to I-20. already an 8-lane highway. And yeah, it does have discontinuous frontage roads. I mean, if you really look at it again, there's no real need to have continuous frontage roads. It has the right of way that it wouldn't be too hard to do, but there's not that big of a real need to do that because everyone's pretty much going to be going on I-20 anyways. And I know they're already working on a plan to expand I-20 pretty much, I would say, from Terrell all the way to the Texas-Louisiana border. So they're still planning on that. I probably will have to look into that in the future. Most of 635, at least for that portion, I mean, the only reason why you would have to like redo portions of that is if you want to add managed toll lanes, which I believe for most people, they're kind of like, I don't know if I want that. Because I mean, if you look at all this, mind you, this is the Mobility 2020, the Mobility 2045 2022 update, because next year in 2025 they're coming out with Mobility 2050 because all of these regional transportation plans extend out for the next 25 years. As you can see, I mean, there might be like some added freeway capacity. Like, look, they're going to maybe add another set of managed toll lanes onto North Tarrant Express. They might probably even extend the North Tarrant Express lanes up onto 170, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't think that's a smart idea, but I mean, look, like right now, this is not accurate. I know they're widening this to 8 lanes. I know, yeah, so they're going to widen this to 8 lanes, and yeah, I would not be surprised if they decide to widen 35 East, at least for here for phase 3, to widen it to 4 managed toll lanes. Even here, they're already looking to widen it to 4 lanes. And as you can see, pretty much from the Denton County Connections projects, they're going to start, like, what they're trying to do is re-optimize some of the intersections and then move 35 outwards so that they could build that extra set of stuff. And that's pretty much it for when it comes to 635 and honestly some of the other projects that didn't really need to talk about, but I did anyways. Now, within Interstate 635 being an integral highway for Dallas and its suburbs, it's no wonder why 635 is almost always congested. For truckers coming from the north to go to Texarkana, they could always take US Highway 380, but with how much traffic happens on 380, it's best to just take the next best option, take I-35 east down to 635 to I-30, and then 30 all the way up to Texarkana. And it's the same thing if you're going on to 75. The best way to do is to just get on to 75, take it down to 635, take it to I-30, and you can take that you can take it up to Texarkana. And it's the same thing for going to Shreveport. You just take 30 a little bit farther down to I-20. Now, why go through downtown Dallas to get to I-20 when you can take 635 all the way around? And what about all the people in Plano, Frisco, Allen, Addison, and Richardson, among others, who want to get from I-35 east to 75 and vice versa? Now, unlike Sam Rayburn Tollway, which has consistent frontage roads up until about a mile or so before 35 east, George Bush Turnpike doesn't have any consistent frontage roads, and it makes you get on and pay. 635 is one of the only freeways that offers better connections for northern suburbs of Dallas, as well as travelers who, well, don't want to go through downtown Dallas and need a bypass. And with that, we're going to end the video right here, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video about Interstate 635. If you guys liked what you just watched, leave a like and comment down below. Well, also subscribe too. And if you guys don't want to miss any future videos, make sure you guys hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our future aviation videos, automotive videos, and even our mountain bike videos. And again, with that comment, I mean, let me know anything. Like, let me know if there's any projects going on that I should take a look at, or any sort of other highways that I should look at in and around DFW. Yeah, I hope to see you guys next week. We're going to be talking about Interstate 20 as we wrap up all of the interstates. Peace.